much for being here. And if you just joined us, this is Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television, from the economic capital of Nigeria, Lagos. My name is Henry Igwebike. We start off today with our newspapers, and right after that will be our main conversation also for today. Please do well to be part of what we do. Have a say in what we say. You can always find and reach us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us when you get to be part of what we do right here on Enterprise TV 7. I have with me Emeka Madonna, good journalist, public affairs analyst, to see through all that we have. Thank you so very much, Emeka, for being here. Truly do appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, good morning. My pleasure. Thank
you so very much. So let's start off today with the Guardian newspaper. And straight to our talking point, we have interesting stories here. Like Plateau, 58 killed, 31 injured, 15,000 displaced in 6 weeks. And also we have other stories that made the headline on the Guardian newspaper. Ignore busybodies, bystanders. Tinubu tells Wike at reopening of what has become very big news. The center in Abuja that has been renamed to Bola Ahmed Tinubu International Conference Center. Emeka, I'd love you to speak to this particular matter. First off, let's talk about Bola Tinubu telling Wike to ignore bystanders. And secondly, is it really necessary that the International Conference Center should be rechristened with the name of the president?
Thank you very much. It's all part of the underwhelming governance we have in Nigeria. I mean, governance by show, governance by trick, governance by deceit, without anything to show for it. Renaming an International Conference Center that was built by a former head of state, General Ibrahim Babangida, from ground to up. And then now you say you renovated it with 39 billion. And you're renaming it after, you can rename it after anybody, even your dog or whatever, or your goats. It doesn't matter. But what matters is, the fact that, you see, Nigerian politicians have sunk so low that for them, anything goes. It's governance is just putting up a show. It's not anything serious. I mean, and then I understand that government is trying to get MDAs to be holding events at the place so that they can recoup money. But you have other places in the FCT, which, if you check, may be far cheaper than this place, And so I wonder what benefit the government stands to gain from such a place. Because 39 billion for innovation. I mean, in which century are you going to recoup the 39 billion? That's what we'll talk about, wastefulness. Wastefulness, the waste in the system. They just quote heavy figures. And of course, we know that there is no serious renovation that's gone on. It's just gathering money for the 2027 elections. That's all. So that's why Tinubu will be so elated, because of course Wike is playing to script. He's running the Federal Capital Territory, according to Tinubu's script. So what do you expect? Is this kind of thing, this kind of show that you're seeing, and that's it.
That's very
thank you. That's
very so unpleasant because of one would wonder that particular conference center was built with 240 million naira, and it was renovated with billions. And one would ask, what is the reason for that? And of course, Yeltsin Wike is not questionable. No one can even ask him, and he is not even open to answer if the questions are being raised on accountability for the renovation of that center. But let's take a look at other matters here, Emeka. Less than 30% of public schools have computer labs, ICT savvy pupils. Of course, we saw the resultant effect with the JAMB CBT and equally the WAEC, which hopefully the CBT will be involved in it. But while all of this are awesome, new technological innovation, the problem is how prepared are those who are to use this technology, and do we have the right infrastructure to make it work?
Well, the point is that we often cry about our challenges as a nation, while we are actually staring, while the solutions are staring us in the face. But you see, we revel in talking, we revel in making plans, we revel in lamenting our frustrations, our challenges, and that's why you see this is the 21st century, where countries, are spending so much money, on providing these gadgets, ICT gadgets for their public schools, and scaling up the adaptability of their pupils to these things. But what do you find in Nigeria? There was one photograph I saw some time ago of, I think, a computer studies teacher, taking some pupils, maybe in a school that was not named, and he had to do a sketch of a mouse and a sketch of a computer on the wall. You can imagine such ridiculous stuff. And, look at the cost of those things. Those things have gone up tremendously. So, what they'll tell you, they've invested so much in education. Ask them to tell you about what they spent on innovation, digitization, computerization. Ask them if they even know what is called a STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which, is the king of the 21st century. They'll tell you, they don't know. So even where they supply computers, of course, you see that these things are defective. They are just some relics that somebody just fetched from somewhere, from maybe some dumps in some foreign countries and brought to Nigeria. The thing is that we don't rate ourselves. And that is why you see so much stealing, looting, corruption, anyhowness. We don't rate ourselves. And it's a sad thing. It's a sad thing that you see that in many African countries. Africans just generally want to hold power without being responsible for anything. And that's why you see it's easy for the West to kick us around like a disused can. Because why? We don't have plans. We don't have projections. We don't even know where the world is or where the world is heading to. We don't know. We don't even know where we are. We have a problem of counting. We don't even know how many we are or what we have or what we produce. All they're just interested in is inflating figures in everything. And at the end of the day, look at JAM. That was a problem in the UTME. Now, WAEC. I don't know if you saw the disgraceful outing the head of the WAEC National Office in Nigeria had with the House of Representative Committee, where he was asked questions and he was just giving very disgraceful answers. I think that man should have been asked to resign that very day because it was a big disgrace. It was a huge disgrace. And thankfully, the chairman of that committee told him that if you cannot organize manual handwritten examinations, within safe hours, that you have to keep pupils up till 11 p.m., 9 p.m., 11 p.m. in the classrooms, in the exam centers, that please do not introduce CBT so that we'll not have a worse disaster on our hands. And that's what you see. The anyhowness, anything goes. You don't find people who are doing, don't even do the extraordinary, just do the normal thing, the regular things. Do them well. That's where the problem is. And it's sad. It's sad. Thank you.
It's truly sad, Emeka, and worst of it all is while we truthfully know that things are bad, those in authority have grossly refused to admit some of these things. Dr. Tunji Alausa, the substantive Minister of Education, you won't see him, speaking to some of these issues. But when it comes to issues that are really not of great importance, like asking universities to ensure that they are online and market themselves. That's where you would see him. And when you hear him say he would love to change the 6334 system to whatever it is that he loves, that's where you will see him. But when it comes to issues like this, like what we have, less than 30% public schools have computer labs, you don't see Dr. Tunji Alausa speaking to some of these things. But let's take a look at other matters still on the Guardian newspaper. We have days of electoral impunity over, Obi declares. Emeka, what do you take out of this particular message? What is Peter Obi actually talking about here?
Yeah, over the years since independence, Nigerians have taken electoral outcomes for granted. We never knew that we had to be watchful over preparations for elections, that we had the right to ask questions, that we had the right to oversight all of these things, and the government will just tell you, don't worry, we're working on it, and they're not working on anything at all. But thankfully, we are better enlightened, we are now better enlightened. And of course, the electoral impunity has to end. It's got to stop. The National Assembly must embark on the electoral reform. If they like, let all of them defect to APC. What we want is electoral reforms, and there must be electoral reforms. Otherwise, the 2027 elections, will not hold, because who are you going to elect in a situation where you are not sure of what voting pattern you want to adopt, where we are not sure of the beavers and the IRF coming into the Electoral Act and the Constitution, where we are not sure of how many electoral constituencies we have in the country. Right now, INEC is trying to create new constituencies, but they're having problems because some areas are saying no, they don't want, they won't accept to be boxed into, to be put under some other areas. So when you don't resolve all these issues, how do you hope to hold free, fair, and credible elections? So we must say no to electoral impunity. We must say put an end to it, and that is why I support what Mr. Peter Obi has said. Other prominent Nigerians have been saying the same thing. And we must put pressure on our elected representatives in the National Assembly to make this happen. Thank you.
Very true. Let's go to the Daily Trust newspaper yet again. And we have other interesting story here. Why INEC is yet to conduct by-elections into 7 seats at the National Assembly. Northeast to experience 4-day blackout. And gunmen kill 4 in fresh attack in Benue State. 96 houses burnt down in Plateau community. ICC commissioned renamed after Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Yes, we had talked about that. And also the big story here, June 12th, protest against hardship, insecurity to hold in 20 states. And that's coming from organizers across the country. Emeka, do you think it will see the light of the day? June 12th, protest against hardship. Knowing what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had done with respect to immortalizing the name of Moshood Abiola, and equally General Muhammad Badamasi Babangida IBB equally stating what he had to say. Do you think this particular protest, do you think there's the need to have it on the same day, June 12th?
Of course, June 12th has come to symbolize the yearnings of Nigerians for a virile democracy, for true democracy. Sadly, the Tinubu administration has leaned towards fascism, has leaned towards, crumbling democratic structures, has leaned towards making sure that, it puts politicians in a compromising situation whereby all they look forward to is just the next getting another ticket. Just 2 years down the line, there's nothing to show for it. Look at all the phantom achievements Tinubu claimed. Yes. Where are they? Where are they? I've traveled across parts of this country, there is no road, no passable road, none. Even the Lagos-Calabar highway that they claim to be building, it just built to 24 kilometers, not even up to 30 kilometers, out of 700 kilometers. The Ministry of Works has got over 3 trillion between 2024 and 2025, and yet is asking for more funds. So why won't the people protest? The Naira has lost value by more than 1,000%. Now they are talking of stabilizing Naira at between 1,006 and 1,650. This was the Naira you met at 750. 400 Naira official rate, 750 black market rate. And you are telling me you are stabilizing it at 1,6. Look at, cost of things have gone through the roof, and the people can barely get by. So now you are telling me that what has Tinubu achieved in 2 years? What he has achieved is taking care of himself, taking care of the elite, taking care of those in government. He hasn't achieved anything. Total failure. He has actually destroyed the economy with his outdated reforms from IMF and World Bank. Yes. So all they've been doing is borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. I don't know if you saw the headline that Saudi Arabia says it won't give us a loan because oil prices have sunk by more than 20%.
Yeah. And
the oil price will continue to sink. I wish the World Bank would also toe that line and say they won't give us any loan because so that we can. This government can regain its senses because they've lost their senses with borrowing. Within 2 years, you borrowed over 100 trillion naira. What have you done with it? Nothing. Look all over. Look all around. All they've done, bought fine cars, renovated places with billions of naira, and nothing to write home about. So you see what happened on June 12th? June 12th symbolized the yearnings of the people for true democracy. We are not having true democracy. And Nigerians must continue to protest with every opportunity they have. Nigerians must continue to protest and say no to this kind of horrible government we have in power. Thank you.
Very so well. You can't overstate some of these things because they are so very glaring. When the president and his people claim they have done more than enough, the truth remains Nigerians are yet to see some of these things that they have done. This is where we would leave this particular segment, and just to let you know that Emeka will be here to take us on our main conversation when we return. Wike stakeholders push Southern presidency in 2027. A party divided over NEC reforms. That in a bit. Still Enterprise Morning. Please don't go anywhere. You're still on to Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's get to our conversation for today. The People's Democratic Party PDP is currently facing internal divisions following a push by FCT Minister Nyesom Wike and some party stakeholders to zone the 2027 presidential ticket to the south. At a recent meeting in Abuja, the group also reaffirmed support for Senator Samuel Anyanwu as the party's national secretary, emphasizing adherence to the PDP constitution and the principle of zoning. However, the move has drawn mixed reactions from party leaders. The PDP BOT members criticized the last National Executive Committee NEC meeting and claiming it was improperly convened without a proper notice from Anyanwu. In contrast, former Deputy National Chairman Chief Bode George cautioned against making internal issues public, urging stakeholders to wait for the scheduled June 30 NEC meeting before any major decision would be carried on. I still have with me Emeka Madunago. Thank you so very much, Emeka, for being around.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's get talking on this PDP convention and what the factions are talking about. It's looking more like a circus, Mecca, where we have pockets of jesters making fun of themselves and equally extending the fun to other people and bystanders. Why would Nyesom Wike, who is totally in support of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is with the APC, be making us feel like he is interested in having the zoning go to the south when we know that his support and loyalty is to the APC?
Well, Nyesom Wike, of course, was put in office to play spoiler role, to make sure that the PDP does not rear its head. And that is a sad thing, a very despicable thing that he's doing. And let me tell you, he's going to pay for it. Time will tell. He's going to pay for it. Because, you see, you cannot be the destroyer of your own house and then you think you will not face the consequences tomorrow. No. No. Undermining the PDP because the end game is so that they can just bring one lackey and call a presidential candidate, and then he will later say we step down. They have stepped down for Tinubu. You know? I mean, you see, these people have turned politics into a joke. And that's why Nigerians must be vigilant. Nigerians must say no. Happily, at least, they've not been able to extend it to the Labour Party. You know, they've not been able to expand that rubbish to the Labour Party. You know, patriotic elements led by Senator Ali Ndume have taken over the Labour Party. You know, so it's sad that the same way Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, you know, brought down the PDP in 2023 by using every means to entrench himself as a presidential candidate and to also entrench the man who was Iyo Chayu as the national as the national chairman of the party. Both of them coming from the north. That was a gross violation of the PDP's constitution. That was a gross violation of.
I still there, Mecca. All right, so we were talking about what's happening within
of what the PDP had come to be known since it was formed in 1998. Party, you know, the party. I'm still here.
All right, please.
The party has had this standard that if the national chairman comes from one part of the country, the presidential candidate will come from another part of the country. So in other words, being a north-south kind of arrangement. So Atiku Abubakar knew the party ought to have had a national convention where the national chairmanship should have gone to the North Central. And then, by the agreement of the various organs of the party, the presidential candidate should have come from the South. But what happened? Atiku stuck to it. And then, Wike, who was pushing to become Atiku's running mate, lost out. So Ifeanyi Okowa, then governor of Delta State, then Wike now rushed to go and make a deal with Tinubu. After trying to make a deal with Peter Obi, and Peter Obi refused conditions. He refused his conditions, and then he now ran to Tinubu. So that's the same playbook that Nyesom Wike is trying to, you know, trying to hold on to. Umar Damagun is occupying that office illegally. He should not be the national chairman because he's from the northeast. The national chairman should come from the north central. That's been zoned to the north central. So, but I align with Chief Bode George, you know, the former deputy national chairman of the party South, who has said that people should wait until the next meeting of June 30. Whatever Nyesom Wike is doing is just, you know, I think he's just acting a movie. He's just acting a movie. You know, I mean, how can you come, you say, with 3 governors, and then your governors are mere members of the party? Yes. So, I mean, I mean.
Yeah, it's very true, because one would wonder why that is the case. They're coming with 3 governors alone.
They don't have any power to, I'm back.
Yes,
they don't have any powers, governors don't have any powers to take decisions on behalf of the party. Sam Anyanwu is already slated for expulsion from the party. The National Disciplinary Committee of the PDP has already slated him for expulsion. So for him to still be parading himself as the National Secretary, because INEC, INEC has refused to properly interpret the Supreme Court's decision. I mean, what it shows is just, this deliberate erosion of democratic values, this deliberate desecration, of democratic norms. And that is so sad.
Very true, Emeka. As much as we would blame Nyesom Wike and Atiku Abubakar for encroaching to areas that he is not supposed to encroach, but let's speak to PDP as a body itself. Does it mean that the PDP has lost the nerve? It has lost the spine. There's no longer white and red blood cell flowing through the party, that it cannot on its own address this issue. Nyesom Wike has said that nobody can drive him out of the party, despite the fact that he is playing inter-party activities glaringly to the open. What do you think is wrong? Are we seeing a collapsed PDP, a PDP that's rotten from the inside?
No, the PDP cannot collapse. After the 2027 elections, what next? Will he put PDP in his pocket? The answer is no. That is what we're talking about, transactional politics. That does not look at the long, that does not look at the the big picture. That does not look at the long term. It's just about short term, quick gains, low hanging fruits. All of these things they're just doing is just towards 2027 elections. But what if things don't turn out as he wants? Has he thought about that? He's just doing it just so that the PDP, he can use the PDP, as a, he can use the weakening of the PDP as a tool to remain in power. But what if his plans don't work out as expected? So that's the level, the kind of politicians we have in Nigeria. People who don't think for the long term. And that is sad. The PDP will not collapse. The PDP had problems after the 2015 election because of the refusal of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar to abide by the party's constitution. But after Ali Modu Sharif had tried to impose himself on the party, as chairman, and then the Supreme Court, of course, ruled that that there was nothing establishing him as the chairman of the party. Of course, he ran away. He ran helter-skelter. And then McAfee, the former governor of Kaduna State, took over as the acting chairman. And so the point is that the PDP will reinvent itself. Because it's a party.
At what point do you think the PDP might reinvent itself? Because
no,
the center cannot hold as it stands today.
No. Look, see, politics is not just about winning elections. I know, yes, it's a major aspiration to win elections. It's sad that we have politicians without principle. That's why people talk about defections of governors and National Assembly or whatever. Say that assembly members, and big wigs of PDP to APC. No problem. But there's going to be a reversal. APC will not be in power forever. No, they will not be in power forever. Of course, it's a fact. They won't be in power forever. So even if all the elected members, of PDP defect to APC, it will still not collapse because the party built on the grassroots. And let me tell you something. Somehow or the other, there will still be people who will remain in the PDP based on principle. A lot of these people who are defecting are just selfish opportunists. They are not there for anything. Many of them have become internally displaced. They cannot feed. They can't take care of their families. They can't pay their children's school fees. Yes, so they just run to the APC to get money, to get support, to get political appointments. Beyond that, what else? Beyond that, what else? Look at people who had appointments in the past. Are they living so well? Are they living the best of lives? The answer is no. So the point is that PDP will still continue to exist. Don't forget there are other parties. There are 18 political parties. Other parties are still there. You know, there are other parties that are still there. Nobody is talking about them but some of these parties actually have people in the National Assembly, in the State House of Assembly, even in the local governments. A party like Zenith Labour Party has some local government chairmen in Abia State. Zenith Labour Party has a senator from Enugu State who defected from Labour Party. So Zenith Labour Party. So, I mean, that should tell you that, you know, like they say, soldier go, soldier come, barracks remains. So, but what we should continue to do as patriotic Nigerians is that we must insist that politicians play by the rules. We must insist that this democracy can be destroyed. We must insist that we had a long spell, over 32 years of military rule, and it didn't do anybody any good. It didn't do us any good. It set this country back by so many years. So many years. Look at all the killings under the military because of military dictatorship. Look at all the coups. These things set Nigeria back, while other countries, South Korea, Brazil, Malaysia, Indonesia, countries that, you know, got independence around the same time as Nigeria, countries that have almost the same population size as Nigeria, countries that have about the same indices, in economic indices as Nigeria, while they move forward, Nigeria was, you know, moving backward. Now that we have, because there are certain things that can't thrive outside of a democracy. That's what these people don't realize. You travel all the world looking for foreign investors. Foreign investors will not come where there is no democracy. It's a fact. It's a fact. You may point to some nations and no, foreign investors will not come, particularly in an African country. They won't come. No, show me any of these dictatorships in Africa where you have solid economies. The Francophone countries, if you remove the fact that their central banks are domiciled in Paris, they will all collapse. They won't last more than the next 30 minutes. They won't. You can see even the ones that pulled out of the Francophone Union and pulled out of ECOWAS and formed the alliance of Sahel states, AES. That is Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali. They are crying. They are crying. They are not having it easy economically. You know, why aren't investors rushing to those countries? Begin to name it. Is it Equatorial Guinea, an oil-producing country? You know, I mean, but what is the level of their economic development? It's still in shambles. So many ramshackle buildings all around the country. Name it. Is it Chad? Is it Sudan? Name it. Is it Congo? Name it. Name any of these countries that are under dictatorship, whether military or civil. Is it Uganda, with Yoweri Museveni, who has turned the government into his family's private enterprise? Name it. You can't see any serious development going on in those countries.
But what do you have to say about Paul Kagame's Rwanda? He's been there since 2002, I guess, and he's still there. Still wants to remain there. But of course, the pace of economic development is great.
No. A lot of these things are overhyped too. If you go outside Kigali, the capital, you don't see all of those things that are being hyped. Outside the capital, Kigali, you don't see them. That's the truth. Yes, he has been able to attract things to the country, do some things. But what I'm talking about is that democracy enhances economic development. Democracy brings investments. Because when there's a plurality of views, there is the expectation of adherence to the rule of law. That's the first thing investors ask about. That if, okay, we have a dispute, maybe with governmental agencies or with fellow, investors, is there a mechanism whereby we can get redress, whether through the court directly or through arbitration? That's one question investors usually ask. Go and look at the rules for ease of doing business. It's there. Rule of law is number one. Rule of law is number one. So, I mean, why hasn't Rwanda been churning out very fantastic economic indices? It's a small country, so a lot of things can be overlooked concerning Rwanda. But what I'm trying to say is this: Nigeria must remain on the path. Nigeria must sustain multi-party democracy. Nigeria must sustain rule of law. Nigeria must sustain a virile democracy. When you hear people like Obasanjo say that democracy doesn't fit Nigeria, blah, 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 blah. This is part of the problem. Selfish politicians.
How was it part of the problem? People. How was Obasanjo part of the problem?
Obasanjo was there for 8 years. Look at what he used the EFCC to do. Was removing governors, carrying out coups within the democracy. Removing governors. Look at what he was doing. He imposed a state of emergency in Ekiti. He imposed a state of emergency in Plateau. He was just subverting democratic structures. And then he's coming to preach to us today. I think some people should have shame. They should have personal shame about the damage they've caused to this country. And then he capped it up by trying to get a third term. I mean, in a country of 220 million people, how can one man be the wisest? How? How is that possible? Look at in Abia State. Dr. Alex Oti has come. What the PDP couldn't do, what successive PDP governors couldn't do for over 20 years, Alex Oti at least has made a difference. Why? The problems are there. The solutions are there. Why not apply these solutions? But we really making excuses. Oh, democracy cannot work in Nigeria. We should look. Let me tell you something. It is better to take the most workable solution. Democracy has been tested for so many years. Excuse me, for so many years. Democracy has been tested for centuries, and it has worked. Forget about whatever they tell you, Donald Trump and all that. Democracy is working in the United States. That's why the courts can, overturn some of the decisions of Donald Trump. But when you talk about you don't need a dictatorship. You see people talking. Look at the other day, Ganduje, chairman of the APC, was talking about that should adopt a one-party rule as China. And people reminded him that you still have a corruption case on head. That if it were in China, by now you would have been executed. Have you heard him say anything since then? The national secretary of the party now came out to say, no, that APC is not pushing towards one-party state. In the euphoria, they just say any kind of rubbish. How many of them, ask them, when last did you read a book? When last did you sit down to use the gray matter in your head to make your brain work? When last? They just sit down, just talk any rubbish. And Nigeria, because we don't ask questions, we don't research, we just swallow it, hook, line, and sinker. That is why Ndume, Senator Ali Ndume, said 22 governors endorsed Jonathan. And there was nothing like that. Right? Mm-hmm. There was even a factual error in that. But newspapers still carried it like that. Why? Because even the media is part of the problem. We don't research, we don't ask questions, we don't fact check. Anything anybody says, we don't even ask them. We don't even ask them how.
What was wrong with what Ndume said? How many governors actually endorsed Goodluck Ebele Jonathan?
No. I think PDP had about was it 21 governors or so, And talking about endorsements, there were defections from PDP. There were defections from PDP at that time. Many people defected from PDP before the 2015 elections. So, but what I'm talking about is, for context, The media should try to always situate things in context, not just coming out to say anything, you know. And again, the media should always also be circumspect. When people say things, you should hold them to account. There should be accountability. Ask them to clarify what they are saying. And that's the way things will work out for us in the country. Thank you.
Very true, Emeka. You know, some of these things are very glaring. It's not like we do not know what the solutions to the problems are. We're very so inundated, you know, with some of these solutions. But the question is, those in authority willing enough to abide to some of these things? Atiku Abubakar is one of those individuals that knows exactly what the problem is. He is equally part of the problem. And one would ask, why desiring continuously to opt for the position of the presidency when it's glaring that Nigerians are no longer a fan of his persona? That's one question that is always there. He knows the answers, but the question is how receptive he is to some of these things, actually. Thank you so very much, Emeka. I truly do appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
All right, that's just the time we have for today. We'd love to say thank you to you. Please do well to visit us. You can find us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms.